It is my pleasure to enjoy Sanjeev Ji to you. Sanjeev Ji is the founder of the Go Trust. He was also awarded the Ashoka Fellowship for his work using small animal husbandry of sheep, poultry, and especially goats to improve the livelihood, health, and rights of the poorest rural communities in India. He was also awarded the Ashoka Fellowship. Uh, he was for his work using small animal husbandry of sheep, poultry, and especially goats. He was also awarded the finalist Social Entrepreneur of the Year in 2019 and the Krishi Bhushan by Asian Consortium of Farmers and the Gandhi Economy Award. Sanjeev ji has over 18 years of experience in the development sector and has spent the last 10 years on strengthening small livestock-based livelihoods and transforming them to a profession with better life quality and dignity. He founded the Goat Trust to work on this objective. The Goat Trust has trained over 10,000 women livestock farmers as livestock nurses, serving over 1 million families in India. Prior to founding the Go Trust, he also promoted NN Breeds and Seeds India Private Limited to build an online goat trading platform and to promote a transparent and efficient supply chain in this sector. These are just some of the many wonderful organizations Sanjeev ji has built. Sanjeev ji also has a doctorate in business administration from Swiss School of Business Management, Geneva, and a master's in livestock production and management from National Dairy Research Institute in Haryana. Sanjeev ji, it is an honor to have you with us. Welcome to this session. So before I hand it over to Smita, if any of you has a question, feel free to jump in after Smita is done. Either raise your hand or leave your questions in the chat and I can read them out for you. All right, Smita, over to you.
Thank you so much, Avmukta, and a warm welcome to you, Sanjeev ji, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today on a Friday evening. Like Amukta said, this is going to be a very informal conversation to get to know the Goat Trust better and the work of Sanjeev ji and what the Rangde partnership with the Goat Trust has been about. So yeah, without further ado, Sanjeev ji, I usually ask this as the first question to any of the founders we interview here on what was the inspiration behind starting the Goat Trust, and tell us a little about the startup story of the Goat Trust.
Yeah, Goat Trust has been an incidental start, I would say. I was a dairy champion when I just graduated from college, like every young graduate. I had dreamed that women, dairy, especially large livestock, is something, and that's the whole things in the country had seen. But while working in Rajasthan, in fact, I worked on that and I found any day goat is much better as a livelihood for poor farmers than dairy. Reason is simple. It's not with the dairy, it's with the resources, kind of resources poor family have. Marginal lands, that too agriculture byproduct, not enough for across the year, high cost of investment in dairy, and then surplus selling issues, especially in the remote areas when you go to hilly mountain area, a desert, or any dry land. I found that goat is something, and that I learned, in fact, that it can give you milk, it can give you kids to sell, as well as some fertilizer, which we call manure. And the more I explore, the more I fall in love with this kind of livelihood, which has a huge market. And the most motivating factor for me is the market is ready. So what you need is the right kind of production system, skilling the people to have a new change kind of transformation in their whole value chain. So around 99, that was the first thing when I realized how goat is contributing. And then across India, I traveled many of the state and I found somehow this livelihood has not been taken on an integrated manner, on a serious note. Lot of works were being done, but spread. A lot of experiences were there with a various kind of agency. The more I explored, then I found it all need to come integrated. You cannot talk about finance separate, somewhere doing financing, somewhere doing say technology, somewhere doing on marketing. But how to integrate all this to make a comprehensive model, that was time I think I realized someone need to do. And if God had chosen me, I mean, I'm thankful to God and the whole team then with me, who volunteered, in fact, to work on that idea. They got excited. And that's how the Goat Trust came into a formal shape by 2008. But real functionality started around 2010-11 when we started grassroots actions. And then all as a history, I mean, when I recall, I didn't feel that it only started. It seems now that, yeah. So, and thanks to all people like Rangde kind of organization we pitched in, who thought that we are on the right track. So, and it's way back 2013. By the way, who didn't know, Rangde partnership is not today. It's when me and Ram went and our stall were together in Bihar. And that time it was decided we'll work together. It took some time because of multiple things. Yeah. So that's the overall story and inspiration.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev ji. So we also started at around the same time. 2008
Yeah.
was when they also went live. So 15-year-old journey with, experiences in the social space. Tell us a little about some of the challenges you have faced, also some of the successes. When did you feel that, you are actually on the right path? That this is something that, is going to benefit communities at large. So walk us through your challenges and some of the success stories as well.
See, first challenge is when you talk about typically NGOs, the name itself starts with multiple, multifunctional, and number of activities to be done. So our challenge when I thought of, I have to work on goat. So let us keep the name directly to the goat trust. So it was difficult when we go anybody, you are not talking development. People get some confusion that development happens when we integrate socio-economic, political, forest, everything you do work on. But our model was a bit different, and we thought that there's a technology gap in the sector. So when you work on a particular livelihood, that makes you challenge because you have R&D also to do in-house, and a lot of investment goes into R&D because technology for the small farmer is not always developed at resource institution. That's largely industrial technology. And when by being industry, you require a huge scale to adopt those technology. But as you know, especially in livestock, India has a small farmer base. So where is those production technology or kind of processing? So that was a technology challenge, impression challenge, goat. The moment people say, kya karte ho, goat? What you'll do on goat? It's such a simple animal, nothing to do. So it took a lot of time. That it also needs training. It needs a lot of knowledge to acquire. And these are skills, not only knowledge. Holding a goat is also a skill. You need a significant number of practice to hold a goat properly. So first, I think one participant commented when some intellectual kind of people met me and I said, I want to work on board. So it's not a rocket science. It was his first sentence. Who will come to train, get a training? And that was my dream, that I will train and develop the people. So that kind of challenges we had, be it with a supporting agency, but I think by 2013, and that's I think when Rangde and we, and thanks to BRLT and that Bihar Innovation Forum, that was the first time I realized we are on the very right track, because out of all those number of organizations were there, all with brilliant work, but then they recognize Goat Trust as an innovation and appreciation, and parallelly came the Ashoka. I mean, Ashoka is of course the first because they realized that there is power in that idea, a small power in the small livestock. But yeah, if I say those two things had been really changing my, not changing, I would say strengthen your belief. Belief it was already there. If it would not happen, that does not mean I would have stopped it, but it may have taken a bit more time to get mainstream attraction. But that was a turning point when we found a lot of attraction came, and then Jharkhand invited, state government invited on work on good value chain. So that lead to the movement going widespread and accepted to mainstream. Yes, that is what I could see. So that was your question. And second question, you have one more question. I forgot it, in fact.
Your challenges and your successes.
Yeah, success. I see this Pasu Sakhi program when we started around 5, 6 Pasu Sakhi, 10 Pasu Sakhis, and illiterate women can be a service provider kind of thing, can be an entrepreneur, service entrepreneur. We found that once it dropped, now Pasu Sakhi has become almost a kind of degree now. People or women call us that they want to be Pasu Sakhi, which we had a very difficult time to find someone because no educated women wanted to be Pasu Sakhi in those days. So success-wise, if I always recall Maharashtra, when some women, I know that women has earning now around like 9 lakh rupees annual, but not only money, the kind of empowerment I have seen in their eyes, and the Pasu Sakhi become an aspiration for new school-going girls. That statement is something which always excites me when a eighth studying girl says that I want to be Pasu Sakhi a day and serve my own community in the village. So like doctors and engineer, I don't know how many of go really to serve our own villagers, but at least these women, as these girls aspire both, one being a Pasu Sakhi and helping their own villagers. And that was the motto behind the Goat Trust. Let you support yourself. It's not a outsider will come and support you. Your livestock asset can be managed by you. So success-wise, we have now significant, and all credit to partners, not only Goat Trust, because wherever we partner made it a more excellent, I would say. Be it SRLMs who used our concept and further refined it. And that has been beauty of the Goat Trust. Now, as per my record, around 117 organizations in India is replicating goat-based model, what Goat Trust is doing. Some of them very large, some of them is small. But together we are reaching over 10 lakh families. If you see, Pasu Sakhi model has been adopted by Government of India. Even AI, artificial insemination in goat as a technology has been recognized by Government of India for a further scale up. So such is one is the technology success where we find, and one is the Pasu Sakhi kind of model, which personally I feel is the success indicator for the goat trust, because now the mainstream got that AI in goat can be successful. So make one line statement, perhaps, and that's the role of goat trust kind of organization. Can happen. It's not only that scientists can always decide. It's the people who can decide these are the technologies useful for the people. So that is the success and miles to go. In fact, our every success shows me there are a lot of miles to go. We have around 850 million total livestock, 225 million goat and sheep, around 5 million farmers, women farmers to reach. So if you reach a million, it's just a, just very, very small level. But here success lies when I see a lot of people getting positive vibes about small livestock, including your posts and some comments, which shows people now realizes. And that's, I think, only God has created a positivity in the environment. That's the only success I feel. At least people didn't disregard goat on the on the first side. Now they realize then it has potential, and kind of business we, and all those women, in fact, success stories all rest on those women who created around 600 crore business. So it's a success story, but halfway. Yeah, over to you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Sanjeev ji. I think it's truly game changing. For people who are new to Go Trust's work and don't know how the operating model works, can you just give us like an overview? You mentioned Pashu Sakhis. So, how does it all work at the grassroots? If you can just give us an overview, that will help us kind of visualize what actually happens behind the scenes.
Okay, let us start with a farmer, goat farmer, and especially 90% women rearing 3 to 4 goats as on average, even goes lower than that. 2.3 comes a average goat only. So what we do is at every 50 such goat farmers, we create one Pasu Sakhi. It's a village level unit who provides services, doorstep services, starting with the technology kind of basic, doorstep first aid kind of services. Then they graduate. These Pasu Sakhi graduate then for financial services, for marketing services, and then institutionalizing all this. So this is the first cadre Pasu Sakhi, which is voluntary and which charges from the people itself. The second level, at every 10 Pasu Sakhis kind of, or say 500 farmers, we have a cluster livestock manager, which is again a normally a rural women and women who gets trained enough and who supports the business linkages to every Pasu Sakhi. So out of these CLM, again on 10 CLMs, we used to have a CLBC, Community Livestock Business Center. So we aggregate, if you go by from downside, it's around 100 villages, roughly a block or half a block, depends on the number of goat farming villages. So we select high goat density village, then we organize every Pasu Sakhi, then cluster level CLM, and then above CLM, we have a CLBC, Community Livestock Business Center. So it becomes a unit which normally we call FPO kind of thing. Now the federation of FPOs happens at a larger level, sometimes 3, 4, 5 districts, and now we are planning at a state level. And that's where the Goat Trust role is, supporting all these structures, providing right kind of technology, or the partners develop it and we support technology, materials, lot of training materials. And one of the challenge which you ask is training such kind of people who are not educated but knows a lot of things through their experience. So getting those experience and sharing with them. So that's why we talk about livestock farmers school. Like we talk about farmers school in agriculture, but very few in livestock. So we looked into such kind of knowledge sharing platform where their knowledge and academic or say scientific knowledge combines together and best should go into the practice. Not only scientific knowledge should go to the practice or vice versa, only traditional knowledge should be in the practice. And most challenging and interesting is where both merge. And that is, I believe, is a new kind of learning we need to generate, where science mixed with traditions and builds a low cost, socio-culturally viable product there. So that's the model works like structure at a various level. Yeah, is it clear?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for walking us through that. I'm moving on to challenges around credit and financing because somebody would think that with Goat Trust's work for about 15 years, financing for this from banks and other institutions could be fairly easy. So, can you tell us some of the challenges that you've been facing, and also if you can also touch upon the impact that our partnership, the Rangde and the Goat Trust partnership has been creating, that would benefit all of us who are here.
Okay, for general audience, the whole loan sector, livestock in general is 4% of India's livestock farmer, not more than. That's the most highest figure you can think of, 4%. And we say GDP growth or the rural economy contribution, we all know. So one thing outrightly livestock, and that's a dairy included. So if you go into goat, it will be 0.00 some percent only. Second thing is the product. See, the one of the beauty at Rangde is we design product as per their need. So normal product, you go to any bank, they will ask that you go for goat rearing and that 10 plus 1 goat and 3 years repayment period. With assumption that everybody just need to rear at least 10 goats and then 3 years period. But believe me, most of people didn't want to rear 10 goats in the beginning. And there is a reason. Because if you start a startup or any company, you'll not go your full capacity day one. You'll grow by your experience. So at Rangde Partnership, we have designed it a new products, not only rearing goat, the whole value chain finance. And two successful story. One is the Bakrid Buck, which last year we did, and this year we are going on scale. Bakrid happens every year, the time is fixed. So just 6 months, if you rear your buck, fatten it up, grow it well, you can have all investment back to your kitty and your risk is minimum and you will get a significant income. So when we talk about bank and the product, one of the innovation with the Rangde, we found we can innovate, we can bring in new product in this value chain. So farmer didn't need 3 years loan and then the whole working capital is not there. So the whole 3 years only fixed cost is there. And I always wonder about it, how the bankers think poor have huge working capital. You consider one goat, it takes around 10 to 20 rupees per day feeding. Even the worst cases, practically if you really want to feed it, it's a grazing is a zero cost, but that's not sustainable. And I don't know any financial calculation can work on zero or only grazing kind of product. But there is no working capital bankers are ready to give. So 3 years working capital you calculate and you will be really at least 1 year working capital will be significant, which is more than the fixed cost. So banking and product, I have talked about, they need a lot of change with the time has changed. And with the Rangde, as I said, Bakrid kind of, then kid nursery, then Pasu Sakhi soap. Pasu Sakhi can start some input shop. So that kind of products we are coming with Rangde, which helped us to, short term, but very risk calculated loan. And we didn't leave them apart. We ensured they get income, they get back to Rangde's payment. And I'm delighted to say 100% repayment, all of us know, has been there. Although it's challenge when you start a new product, new area, new loan. So that's the whole, and GoTrust came into after a huge number of our own experiments and understanding. We didn't wanted them to bombard with the loan, and especially that kind of loan of 1 lakh, 2 lakh. So the second beauty we found at the Rangde partnership is a small loan. You graduate, you learn to manage loan. And loan, believe me, at least 90% of women didn't want to take loan like others risk appetite is. They are much more wise in taking a loan than you and me might sometimes. Personal loan or bank if we sign, take a credit card. But in my experience, goat farmers, especially these women goat farmers, are not just willing to take loan unless and until you didn't give them a whole perspective how the things will work out. And in this product, I had seen women 100% participation, even not men willing 30,000 for 30,000 rupees. So amount wise, somebody may think that it's a small loan. Basically, it's the right loan, not a small loan. I would call it a right loan for any graduating youth or women. The risk they can manage. And I'm happy to share that what Rangde brought and together we did has a huge impact. Now the loan also, they have understood how the loan should be taken and done. So yes, that's something, new things are emerging, and that's new partnership, new kind of opportunities are getting into it. Yes. Over to you, Smita. A long explanation.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. We really look forward to working, across different states with you, and I hope that we are able to also create awareness on the impact of the kind of work that you do. Moving on to the other question, what are some of the innovations that you have been able to bring about in this value chain? And also, if you can touch upon, is the market ready for products like goat milk and other aspects like soaps and cosmetics? How is the market response been, and what kind of market linkages are you seeing at this point?
Okay, I will start your last first. Market by market, 90% people thinks urban is the market. And that's what the myth we had by training. And many of my colleagues think that urban people have paying capacity. You'll believe me, this soap, what they purchase, if you put them on a right price, rural India is better market to my understanding. Like goat milk soap, we invested significantly in urban marketing, but where success we found is the rural marketing. All cosmetics, many few people perhaps you'll understand there's not much of a study of the cosmetics and the rural women relation. It's very well understood. There is a significant expenditure by poorest people on the cosmetics, be it a soap. Now these has become, detergent has become everybody, every household's need in fact. But if you see, this supply are not coming from locally. Our whole soap brand has gone 10 years or 20 years back. Everybody can recall there used to be rural soap. So when we look into goat milk soap, especially it's an elite class called. In other countries, goat milk soap is elite. Perhaps our one of the innovation in marketing has been we made it affordable to a rural women to access goat milk soap as quality as the even the US. We are at par with same kind of chemicals, perfumes, non-chemical perfumes we are using. Leading to the first part, the goat trust innovations has started from production itself. As I said, a right kind of technology for the production. As I said, the breeding, we gender sensitive or gender centric technologies also we had to work with, and especially the training. As I said, Bakri Palak Patsala, women didn't have that classroom training opportunity, or I say the privilege, because they have, rural women have a number of other works to be done. much more busier than any day, than at least than me. What sometimes people call you have to this and that. I feel a rural woman has much more role every day to do what I do in office. At least Sunday I have, and I have these offers that I cannot work. I may not work today, but when we work with them, and that was the innovation Gotas brought, how the training, all these materials should be video based, where they can learn and can do at their own level. And Pasu Sakhi, a gender centric approach, or I would say focused approach. So, and second, then if you see the whole value chain, finance itself, like all we did, as I said, lot of works we had done into pilots before we decided how to go about it. In marketing, as you said, goat milk and that goat dung, people didn't realize that goat dung is itself is a huge product. If you have 25 million goat and sheep, so every night we have 225 million kg of say manure, which can fertilize or can uh, improve our soil fertility almost 3% of our agriculture land every day. So that kind of opportunity I see. And then we go for subsidy, and urea storage is different, but we packaged it, we made it a product with neem oil, and then tried to sell it. At least many people now accept this is one of the best product. Similarly, if I see this whole value chain approach has been our, to an extent, innovation, live body weight equation marketing, transparently digital, using digitalization of this whole value chain, especially marketing what we call pasubazar.com. So I feel that's an innovation, and there are multiple things still in the process, in fact. But yeah, our only innovation is we looked into the value chain in depth, and all others supported us. I would not say it's a goat trust. When I take goat trust, all people are here might have contributed in some way or other. So it's a community, or I think overall, that led us to make a small movement, and that's, I think, is innovation.
Awesome. So I have a few more questions for Sanjeev ji. Meanwhile, if any of you wants to ask any questions, you can actually drop a note in the chat, and Amukta and I will be happy to moderate it. So please do that while I definitely have a few more questions. So Sanjeev ji, what's the future looking like for the Goat Trust? What are your plans in terms of collaboration or scaling up? What is that one thing that's giving you sleepless nights now?
Yeah, it's the, of course, it's very sleepless, in fact, because when you see the opportunity and the work, then I feel wide gap. Three, four major verticals we want to expand now. One is ultimately one of the successful model of India is Amul model, where we believed into the power of individual producers, then aggregation, processing, and then large market. So one of our vision is all these urban centers should be linked with 100-kilometer kind of goat farmers, livestock farmers, and their market, including their own nutrition aspect. So three dreams I see. One is the Pasudhan Bank, what we call as a financial intermediary institution, which is facilitating large number of commercial goat farmers. So commercial goat farmers will require some technology work, easy and quality finance, and graduating approach, not starting with 100 goats. Can we start with say 5 goats, then graduate and graduate. So my dream is one around Pasudhan Bank, one is a Pasu Bazaar, which is pasubazar.com, where we can create a market, and everywhere people can purchase a livestock very easily, just digitally, the way we are purchasing other things. A large number of Pasu Sakhis, and especially the Indian knowledge, which we have significant, not only go trust above all, can we go to global? Can we look into other countries where we can support them? So my dream might look, of course, you can laugh at it, that, but yeah, the dream I am carrying, why not African countries? Why not India's model should go transboundary? And I believe India's livestock knowledge critically is much important for globally than European knowledge or any of the other countries' knowledge. They have a particular context, but we have all contexts, be it a 0 degree centigrade to say 48 degrees centigrade, be it desert, be it a mountain, any kind of situation you give, we have in India, and we are rearing livestock since centuries. So especially in small livestock, I believe India need to be a powerhouse, a guru in goat guru or goat gurukul, what we call, and that power we have. So I would try to rest when the goat trust proves our knowledge is globally relevant and we have a model which any country need to replicate in their own context. So yes, finally, I would say India need to go global and go need to be global. It's a global asset in that way, and it has a one religion, one nation, and of course, goat should be national animal of India because it is the animal which is every religion, every kind of people adore. In fact, so these are not dreams. I'm just accelerating. Yeah, it should be national animal one day, and I dream it will be one day. Yeah.
Awesome. Also wanted to talk to you about how do you see the Rangde partnership with the Goat Trust growing? Because many people here are either social investors with Rangde or team members of Rangde who have also worked closely with the Goat Trust. Would love to hear from a Rangde context, how do you see both our organizations working together and what are those big problems you think we can solve at scale?
Yeah, so very first thing, if you see the livestock, especially goat, is prolific. A goat gives 2, 3 babies, at least average 1.8 you will get. So return are very high. Any poor families, if you want to get them out of poverty, one of the best tool is livestock because it's not like land and other resources, and especially women-owned resources. So we know the poverty when we talk about it again gets segregated. Desert area, dryland areas, area-wise poverty, age-wise poverty, gender-wise poverty. You cross all three. If you want to do use all three filters, ultimately you will come to goat farmers because they will be in difficult areas. They will be largely reared by aged people. Rural youths are still coming, but there are most people are under that age, migrant, back to village migrant kind of people, and widow, single family, single women, all adjectives you use, ultimately goat will be there, and that's my challenge. You put all these in Excel sheet, and ultimately you will get at least 80% of them are goat farmers. So client-wise, Rangde and Goat Trust, when they see, we could be happy, and I am happy that we are reaching to the last mile and that kind of people who really need our help. And that's not bankable at the beginning itself, at least for not 2, 3 years. Of course, we want to graduate and get them to that level, but that's a distant dream. Secondly, as I said, this is a very bankable other way, not bankable for banks. When I say bankable here, it means that return are very high. So poor we can return with easily can return. Only 2, 3 risks they have. One is the mortality, quality of livestock. Sometimes they get cheated. And where Goat Trust and Rangde brings, if you see the model, it's not that we are giving money only. Post money, we assure they get the best quality goods as much as possible. Then we go to integrated services, Pasu Sakhi services, Dori. We also give insurance compulsory that if your risk are there, if the goat dies, at least you are not getting on a very no loss on that level. And then we work on their financial literacy. And because it's a women earned income, I can share a number of videos where the women are using it a more proactively into that kind of, be it education, be it a health. And perhaps my vision with Rangde is, can we look also for a one glass of milk, which is a vision. Ultimately, if you have 2, 3 goats across the year, you can get a glass of milk, and that's enough for a poor families. A cow and buffalo gives 10-liter milk, so normally you have to sell it. But in remote areas or say high hills or that remote area, even the milk selling is not a right proposition and difficult to set up. But can we empower them to take a glass of milk, especially women herself and the children? So when I see Rangde and Goat Trust partnership, we can go places because across India, out of 650 lakh villages, roughly 5.5 lakh villages, just leave 1 lakh villages, which is become almost urban. 5.5 lakh villages, we have opportunity. And because it's bankable, people can repay it and they will multiply the asset. I also want to make very clear to investor, if you give one goat to loan to a person, perhaps if everything goes right, she will have 36 goats. So of course he will be selling, but there are huge opportunity to multiply, and you can see within 3 years they can get out of poverty. There are certain challenges still to be fine tuned, but I personally believe one goat or three goats can make them out of poverty in times to come. So investment here seems to me that have a huge sense. One is because of the poverty reaching to women, and no market risk, because today or tomorrow, suppose Goat Trust or Pasu Bazaar is not marketing, although that's our product part, buyback guarantee kind of thing also we give. But even if you didn't do that, they will not be in loss. So that's why I think it's a huge opportunity for each of us to get these women, and we want MIS to be strong in times to come, because still we are in pilot phase, lot of challenges. So once they becomes into that level, we'll keep MIS, and our investor, we can get MIS, not only your money, how much of there has come out of poverty. And that's a promise from the Gotas. We want to make them out within 3 years, not doubling the income and all that, that's government is doing anyway. Our role is to let them be out of poverty. And within 3 years, they can get out of poverty, and by the women, for the women kind of thing. Because poverty, again, the last mile poverty we can address. And that's why I'm excited partnering with Rangde, and we'll be looking at now 3-4 states, and especially Northeast, because when we talk about livestock, Northeast becomes a priority, be it rural women entrepreneurship. So yes, that's my personal belief. If we work together, all three investors, Rangde and Goat Trust, and again, for the investor, you are our partner, as Rangde says you, and Goat Trust do say the same thing. You are our partner in this prosperity, where together we'll write that script. Not for everybody, but at least 1 million script we can write in next 3-5 years. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Sanjeev ji. We do have a question from Vijay. So Vijay's question is, how can I am from a farmer family in Maharashtra. How can I educate and help local farmers to create big nexus for goat farming? Can we take help from government schemes and utilize subsidies? The aim is to help women and to empower them. We create any system to gather farmers together for big scale goat farming.
Great. One thing, let us start small. It's a small livestock. So before we become big and support, because we are working with a small family in that way, the moment you say farmer and that kind of farmer, perhaps you have same picture in mind. So before we go to commercial, can we start on a smaller scale, say 5 goats? Because it's a very, one of the maxim is grow into livestock business rather than go into livestock business. So because poor also need all these resources, alignment, risk appetite, hands-on experience, they know how to rear goat, but many things they didn't know. When the resources are scarce, when you get 100 goat farming and 5 goat farming is altogether different ball game. So my suggestion one will be, let us start small. Don't expect government in the beginning. That's the second mistake. See, government and industry or large investor all comes when you have a whole success story. And to forgive me for this statement, government also is not able to support ultra poor families because their kit size still is a very large. As I said about the bank products or any subsidy will come. I had been to these committees and they're always thinking is 100 goat pe subsidy denge. So subsidy starts when you rear 50 goats. So none of, say, the kind of farmer we want to reach or you want to reach to go to your village. So yes, collectively they can be much bigger than any large. Now I multiply 200 families with 5 goats. It becomes 1,000 goat farm, which is not possible by any corporate to have 1,000 goat farm with such a small cost of operation, because your HR cost is at that moment is decentralized, risks are decentralized. In livestock, you have a biosecurity problems. Once you in a certain area, if you increase the number of livestock, there will be threat of bacteria, virus, and whatnot. And then you have a lot of people will coming, this technology, that technology, this sanitation you do. you know how our rural people live. Perhaps sanitation wise, you can rate them much lower, but their livestock is healthier than many of the commercial farms because their disease spread as not happens as fast as it happens even in commercial farm. So the second principle is let us not work on government in this beginning. Let us train people, and as I said, train some people as a business service provider, and it should be low cost, it should be doorstep, low cost, affordable, and by the end develop it a number of service provider. Don't believe on a single service provider because they do exploit, and as you know, mostly poor exploit poor themselves sometimes. So it also looks a bit wiry things to say, but yeah, I have no doubt in that. Sometimes one of the poor gets elevated to a service provider and then start exploiting. So at the principle of the goat trust, can we train 10 in a say block level so people have another option? If you didn't give me right services, I have option not to take services from you. So start small, and of course, the kind of mission you have, very happy to hear it. We can discuss it outside this discussion too, and certainly you can make a great change in your village, and you'll be happy to help them. And we, I mean, because that's our mission, so we'll be any day happy to support you, whatever little knowledge we have. Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot for that, Sanjeev ji. I believe Chanchal also had a question. You had raised your hand, so if you could just go ahead. Chanchal? All right. Other question that was posted on the chat, and then we could go ahead. Shubodh wants to know, addressing health issues of goat is one of the major problems faced by farmers in my area. We lack with infrastructure, and people are suffering from the malpractice of Jola Chak Pashu doctors. Farmers lose their livestock most often. How to address such a situation?
Okay. First, it's nothing different in animal than human. Don't get confused. It's almost same. If your nutrition is not proper, you are prone to diseases. So what we do in humans health structure, first thing is you take vaccinations. So vaccines is must for, and minimum vaccine, which is the most prevalent disease. Like in goat, you most often will look into PPR, then enterotoxemia. Sometimes you can have CCPP. So look into those diseases and then get vaccine. Looking into vaccine again, don't always 100% depend on government because people do need to pay for it. 5 rupees and 10 rupees is not a huge cost. So can we get from private sector? There are a lot of private sector having supply chain, but you need numbers to ensure it because for one goat or two goat you cannot. So if you have 100 goat, then we have vaccines, private sector vaccines you can purchase and get it done. Second thing, as I said, one is the prevention and second is the cure. So focus on prevention. Prevention starts from nutrition, what goats are eating, because what you are saying, the disease is increasing because there are many plants, many minerals, which used to be in natural habitat is no more. So when you say drought, when you say biodiversity is in danger, when you say plants are not growing now, you are also saying the livestock who is dependent on that are not getting. As a human, you can look for iron supplement and you have a number of sources, but think about livestock. They cannot cry that I'm not getting enough iron or vitamin D now, please arrange for me. So as any worker need to understand and analyze all this, and that requires a bit of knowledge what kind of mineral deficiency is in acute condition. Third thing is developing local, what you call Jhola Chhav doctor, just check it out. You need to management knowledge, not treatment knowledge. Treatment is always costly. Believe me, even the antibiotic for a 20 kg goat and for a 20 kg boy will be the same. Only thing is the quality wise or a bit of cost wise, it will be different. But just for the, I'm not talking it in a very scientific way. So for just a layman language, if you have 1 ml of antibiotic, India need to use it for humans. That's my belief. So why we need that much antibiotic or that much allopathic medicine for goat? So you replace this jhola chap, or if they are using, but train the people to have those practices in the process. And very simple practices, how people have reared it for 1,000 years. Just try to understand. There are best practices. Just for example, you using some say meetha soda or using your oil as a surface tension to break surface tension. So gas formation can be just managed by using some oil and turmeric kind of thing. So these practices, if you do regularly, like Baba says just na ki take some amla juice and this juice and that juice. So if you take every day, there are low chances of getting infected. So my suggestion, that's going long, let us look into the traditional best practices, herbal practices, and make it a habit, not it's a cure. It's a general day by day kind of things you need to do. So Subodh, when we meet, we'll discuss it a lot, but the lot to be done and nothing to be worried about. All can be done. It requires very simple work. And don't think complex and don't act complex that there should be doctors and all that. No veterinary science can save because it's a cost. And it's not a saving, it's a cost. Can those poor women or poor farmer afford that cost? And I would say roughly no. And if they cannot, then it's not technology. It's a ability to pay for technology that's more important. And that we have to keep. When we talk about poor farmer, their ability or capacity to pay for technology is low. So not every technology is for poor. I mean, sentence might have be debatable, but I say yes, every technology is not for poor. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sanjeev ji. That was really helpful. We have one last question. I think Satish had raised his hand. Satish, if you'd like to go ahead.
There's one more question in the chat, Amrita.
Yeah, I'll read that out.
Yeah.
Okay. So Arindam has a question. In India, we have extreme weather conditions such as drought, flood, or extreme temperatures can impact the health and productivity of goats. How Goat Trust manages practices in or puts practices in place to help mitigate the impact of environmental factors on these goats.
Oh, good. It's a long-term strategy, in fact. The moment you use environment, goat is a part of environment first. Many people ask me that it's also a natural resource. So it has its adaptability. Just believe on that. Goat do adapt the kind of environment changes happening. The problem is man-made. What we did is we are reducing their grazing land. We are encroaching their resources, disturbing their forest area, and sometimes making rule which only we can make. You cannot go to forest. Human can go, but goat cannot go forest. And that's our privilege. And that's why we are wisest animal on this planet. So most of environmental problem is because we are consuming more part of environment than giving goat as a due space for that. So your question had two, right? One is the right-based approach and one is the technology-based approach. So if you ask me right-based approach, then there need to be all these to be done corrected. The land should be earmarked for goat farmers. Commons should be used for goat farming. It should be regenerated. It should not be easily convertible to roads and parks. I'm not saying not happen, but we have to, allot budgeted about all these species if we want to live together. Otherwise, we have option that we acquire all lands and let all livestock go, or including your so-called wild animals go out of the planet. So question is a bit upper side. The second part is very simple. Let us learn from the poor people, how they have managed the whole environment, because the environment is changing since centuries. It's also not that only last 5 years or 10 years it has been changes. And if I see goat, what are the environment kind of things? See water, which is most scarce resources, which is, I mean, goat is the best efficient consumer of water. It requires hardly a liter and sometimes 2-3 days. After camel, the whole physiology of goat is it uses water very efficiently. and it uses normally surface water. Hardly you will find anybody to put a borewell to drink goat. It goes to some mountains and somewhere see the surface water, and it consumes. So and the herbs, can we use these herbs for, as I said earlier, also for all medical history or medical treatment or first aid, especially prevention. So if we use herbs, that could be environment friendly. So educate people, learn from these goat farmers, especially pastoralists who had survived thousands of years. Someone's almost 10th generation I know is into sheep farming. So out of 9th generation, they have some knowledge which we are not able to understand. Not understand because we are highly focused with academic knowledge or European knowledge that this thing will increase our productivity. Sometimes it's a high cost marginally if you put that resource what European people do. And I'm not blaming European people. I'm just claiming that India has its own knowledge, and that knowledge also need to be documented. So any other day we can discuss on it, but yeah, we have the technology, we have the people, we can learn and document. And I didn't fear much about all this, and a bit of scientific practices like in breeding. I said AI, because we cannot afford that much, but let us reduce the number of goats and still increase our economics. And that's possible, and that's where the lies the combined balance of human and goat. We need not have 225 million goats and sheep, and believe me, that's the main factor. We boast that we have 225 million goat and sheep. Perhaps we need half numbers, and that still will have the same income. Yeah, so over to you.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev ji. I think we've come to the end of the session. So thank you, everyone, for joining us and for asking such interesting questions. And thanks a lot, Sanjeev ji, for sharing your insights with us. This session itself has been very informative and extremely useful to all of us. This is an area that not a lot of us know about. So it's been super interesting. So over to you, Smita.
So just some closing remarks, Sanjeev ji. I think we're super proud to be working with you, and we really look forward to scaling up our impact and learning so much from you. I think it was so beautiful with so much of simplicity. You answered a lot of questions to just make it so relatable to all of us. So thank you so much, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Ismita. Thank you, everyone. And really enjoyed it. It's my pleasure, to discuss all this. And feel free, any of you, any question you have, and let us have open debate. Don't believe that what you hear. Let us check it with, and perhaps Gotas can help you in checking the facts and figures. And the only problem we have is a lot of myths has been prevailing.
Yep.
So let us demystify the myth together and build a new India, perhaps new kind of livelihoods too. Thank you. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much.